So in previous videos, we've been looking at standard deviation and other measures of statistics, but the question can kind of come out of like, how exactly do you go about getting data? So in this video, we're going to look at different ways and methods of getting data and different techniques that you can use to what we call sample. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So just like in previous videos, I am not going to go ahead and just kind of read this verbatim. Go ahead, take a screenshot or take some notes and pause the video so that way you know exactly what I'm talking about when I refer to these terms. All right, this is just kind of a glossary definition, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. And in addition, there's two others. So quota sampling we have is setting certain quotas for your sample. And we have stratified sampling, which is selecting random samples from where numbers in certain categories are proportional to the numbers in the population. Again, please take notes here. I'm not going to read through this entire thing, but I'll go ahead and go through the problems where we apply this. So please keep this as a reference. So in this problem, we have someone that's asking all the students at their school to take a memory test, and the students have to remember as many objects as they can from the 20 that Mandy shows them. The results are shown in this table. All right, so we have 20 students in 7th grade, 27 in 8th, so on and so forth, and then there are their respective scores for memory. And so in order to take a stratified sample of 40 students from the 150 in total, show that Mandy needs to select 5 students from class 7. So let's remember what a stratified sample is. What we need to do is make sure that whatever the proportion is that we are trying to represent is accurately represented within our different subcategories. So how exactly does that look? Well, let's think about this. We have 150 total students, okay? So that's all these numbers added up together, all right? So if we have 150 students, how many of them are in 7th grade? 20 of them, okay? But then this is the proportion that out of the 150 that 7th grade represents. But what is the new total population, or I'm sorry, what I should say is what is the new total sample size that we're going to be looking at? And that answer is going to be 40. So we want a sample of 40, but we want to make sure that the 7th grade is still just as accurately and equally represented in terms of percentages of the total population as it would be with the new one of 40. So if it was 20 out of 150 before, that's going to give us a percentage that 7th grade was taking up out of the total population. And now we're going to have 40 as our new student number, and that's going to give us 5.33. So what we're going to say is we're going to need about 5 students. So again, what we did was we took proportion 7th grade was out of the total population, then we used that as a percentage, and we multiplied that for our new total or our new sample size to figure out what that number would be. And that's exactly what we have here. And so how many students would Mandy need to select from each of the other classes? Okay, well, if this is A, and I'm actually going to shrink this down so it makes it a little bit neater. So if we were doing now part B, well, we're going to kind of have not an algorithm, but we're going to have a little bit of a formula here, because if 27 of the students out of 150 represent class 8, and we know that we're going to be doing 40, well, that is going to give us the new number. And this would be 7.2, so it would be about 7th for 8th grade. And what you're going to do is you're basically going to take the number of students and then divide that by 150, which is the total number of students, and then multiply that by 40. So that's going to be kind of like the general formula for figuring out what percentage each class has out of the 150, and then multiply that by 40, which is our new sample size, to get our new number. And so what you should find is that for 7th grade, we'll get 5 students. For 8th grade, we'll get 7 students. For 9th grade, we'll get 6 students. For 10th grade, we'll get 7. For 11, we'll get 8. And then for 12, we'll get 6. So go ahead and double check your math for each and every one of those, but this would be what you should end up with for how many students in each of these grades should be in the sample size of 40, given what they are as a percentage of 150. All right. So I hope that helped a little bit with how we can use stratified samples as an example, stratified sampling as an example, to go from a table and into getting us, hey, what would our number need to be in order to keep the exact same ratio with the total population if we were to select a smaller sample size. So I hope that helped, and I'll see you all in the next video.